Hello. Hello. It's me. I am here, I'm hanging out, and I don't know what's going on. You know, it's me. It's me. I just went live on YouTube, and we're going to talk with me. It's the Beastside Podcast, and we've gone live. Oh my God, we've gone live. I know that I'm not much of a singer, but that's where we are. We are on the east side, otherwise known as the Beast side of Milwaukee. It is Tuesday evening, November 26th, 2024. The B-Side Podcast back in play. We have not nailed down a day and time to do this podcast. I'm probably looking at thinking like a Sunday night kind of thing, because that'll follow the week's games. We can set up the next week's games. I'm just gonna start tagging people. You're gonna sit here while I do it. Stack, you're the first person in, buddy. We are live. There's a reason that a really ridiculous reason why I have not yet come up here until right now. I had set to go live at 8 p.m. We're not going live at 8 p.m. The reason we're not going live at 8 p.m. is kind of ridiculous. The reason I wasn't going live at 8 p.m. is because we just had our dishwasher kind of blow up on us. So I had to kind of rush for that. Just turn it off. We're going to play with it tomorrow, but yeah, we had to do that. So welcome. This is Jimmy. We got a lot to talk about today. The Cream City Challenge. Panthers come off a 3-game winning streak. Well, 4-game winning streak, but 3 games in the Cream City Challenge. We have we got to talk about Erik Pratt. Got a little bit of an update for you on Erik Pratt. I'm going to continue my thoughts from the just awful attendance from this weekend. Again, I've been speaking in a lot of I spoke for, I think it was something like half an hour on Sunday night. When I went to go to my parents' house to do some laundry, I stepped out and just started shouting into the void that is Twitter. And got something like 300 unique viewers to sit there and listen. I think a lot of people were pretty pissed off. I don't think I'm the only one. We're also going to talk about the non-conference road trip coming up. In fact, if you look up there on the screen, you will see that we have a game tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at UCF in Orlando, Florida. The Panthers will then spend Thanksgiving in Nolens. They'll spend Thanksgiving in Nolens, and then they will head to Hattiesburg, Mississippi on Saturday, home of grifters and really great quarterbacks. Sometimes those are the same people. Saturday at 1 p.m., They're at Southern Miss. Want to thank Pie in the Sky Coffee for dropping in. Stack's already in. If you're in, drop a hey in chat. We want to talk to you. We want to talk to people. That's what we want to do. We love chatters. There's nothing more fun than chatters. After that, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty packed night. We're gonna try and keep it tight. Tweet at your friends. Tweet at everybody you know. This is the most important thing going on. Ryan Stofield says hi. Welcome, Ryan. That's a very nice suit you're wearing in your profile picture on YouTube. In the future, I think we're gonna try and simulcast this to Twitter and Twitch. I think I can do that on Twitter. I've never done that before, but we're gonna give it a shot. At that point, I think we're gonna have to use a different. I don't think I want to use the Jimmy Lemke Twitter account. Although, obviously you can see it right here below. It's been a fun day. It's been a fun day, fun game, or a fun week, I should say. Things have been going in the direction of the Panthers. I also want to start talking about, I also want to have, just highlight some things from the UWM Freak message board. People talking about attendance, people talking about basketball. There's a lot of good conversation over there at uwmfreak.proboards.com. I want to pop those things on there because I'd like to have a quick little conversation with you. But first and foremost, I want to talk about what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for a great many things. But first and foremost, I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for you for subscribing, for watching this show. Want to, express my gratitude that you want to watch me wax poetic about Milwaukee basketball. We're going to do that for a while. I don't think this is going to be a super long podcast, so we better get to the meat and potatoes of things. The first thing I'm letting you know, Erik Pratt, star player, Coach Lundy said might be player of the year in the Horizon League. That's going to be taking a back seat at the moment because he is not on the trip to Orlando and Southern Mississippi. That is the big news this week. Erik Pratt still not past the personal reasons. That's what the university has decided to say is why he is not playing, not with the team currently. We don't know if this is disciplinary. We don't really know. We don't believe there's no injury here. They've been cagey with me on it. Even when I'm like, I won't tell people. I won't tell people exactly what, but and that's unfortunately that's going to be the truth a lot of the time. That's the downside of being on the outside of a program. Even inside the program, not everybody is privy to everything. The downside of us being here is that we're not going to be privy to everything either. And say hello to Sirius's tail, everybody. What does this mean for the Panthers this week? This means a steadier diet of A.J. McKee, Kentrell Pullian picking up the offensive workload. You may see some more scoring from Themis Fulks. It's going to be tough to see. UCF has some big guards, but we'll get to previewing that later. Right now, I want to pull up the stats. Ooh, I didn't realize I was putting that all the way over there. First things first, tonight, Friday night, we had the wonderful time of going to a basketball game where the Milwaukee Panthers started out fairly even, came in halftime with a 7-point lead, and then pecker slapped the Portland State Vikings in front of about 700 people. I don't know what the actual attendance was. But they whooped the crap out of them in the second half, and then Portland State made a few baskets to make it look like it wasn't a blowout, or at least make it look like it was just an average blowout. 17-point win when it had been as much as 30 or at that point in the game. As you can see, the offensive rating, the Panthers had a 126.7 offensive rating. That's about as good as you can get in a basketball game. Forget these fellas. Obviously, we'll look down at Panther stats first. 30 minutes from Themis Fulks, 26 minutes from A.J. McKee, 26 from Kentrell Pullian, 22 from Jamichael Stillwell, 27 from Darius Duffy. He had to step in because Faison Fields broke his finger on his left hand. A very unfortunate turn of events for the Panthers, and we're going to talk about that as well. Wow, we have a shitload to talk about tonight. But look at this stat line from Darius Duffy here. Look at this stat line. Darius Duffy goes 7 for 8 from the field, 10 rebounds, 15 points. I think all but like one of those was like a monster dunk. He went absolutely bananas. Just stuffing the ball. That the two coaches got into it in a later game. We're going to talk about that in a second. Johnny Lovelace had a good game. Maybe not so much on the scoring, but Themis Fulks 20, A.J. McKee 21, Jamichael Stillwell 14 with 11 rebounds. Fulks had the 6 assists. This is what you want a box score to look like if you are the Milwaukee Panthers. Overall, a very, very nice box score. Duffy kind of took over for Faison Fields' spot early on. What the hell is this cat doing? He's like dribbling a door, and it's getting annoying. Swapping to the next game for the Milwaukee Panthers. 76-74 over the Wofford Terriers. The next night or afternoon, that was a Saturday game. Yes, pie in the sky coffee. That is a broken finger on Faison Fields' hands. And as you can see, he didn't play. Darius Duffy started in his place, and you could tell that Darius was extremely tired during that game on Saturday and on Sunday. So that's part of the deal. Ryan Stofield's got the box scores attendance. Friday, 1638. Saturday, 1756. Sunday, 1669. I cast doubt on those numbers. Are we counting the band that was there for one of the 3 games? Is the band why it was above 1,700 for the Saturday game? Probably includes the early games too, Paul. You're probably correct. But looking at this box score for Wofford, look at this box score for Wofford. 24 points from Themis Fulks, 21 from A.J. McKee. These guys were on fire those first 2 games, which was good because we needed them to be. And then Sunday, we didn't need them quite to be that bad. I'm assuming that they're counting the workers. I'm assuming they're counting all the players on all 4 teams, all the coaching staffs, everybody who's working game operations, everybody from the athletic department, everybody from Levy Restaurants, and everybody who is across the street at Train Fest. That's my assumption for the attendance for the game. At least they didn't goose. I mean, maybe they didn't goose the numbers and I'm just bad at counting a crowd, but I think that most of it was, closer to 1,000 than 1,700. I feel like I've gone to enough games for a long time that I think I've gone to enough games for a long time that I feel like I have a decent enough idea of what attendance is, or generally what a number is, but maybe I don't. I'll be the first one to tell you that I ain't perfect and I don't always know what the hell I'm talking about. In fact, oftentimes I don't know anything about what I'm talking about. What I do know is that this was a breakout weekend for Jermichael Stillwell. 8 points on Saturday was actually his low night. He has really come through on a couple, it really came through Friday and then really came through on Sunday when we really needed him to. And we also needed Aaron Franklin to do so because both of those guys had to make up. Oh, I don't want to do that. Don't do this to me. What are you doing? Exit that garbage. Both of those guys were needed for this game against St. Thomas because the Milwaukee Panthers were. Get out of here, dude. Go. Just go. Just go. Dude, my cat is just like trying to get my attention by any means necessary. He's more annoying than I am. And you guys already know how annoying I am. So that's quite saying something. 4 factors in the game against St. Thomas. Panthers had the edge on offensive rebounding percentage, on effective field goal percentage. I will say that the free throw rate and the turnover percentage were both mostly a push. But the reason that St. Thomas kept it as close as they did was because of the free throws, where the Panthers just were absolute garbage. I don't know what it is. 13 of 22 from the free throw line for the game for Milwaukee. If you got an idea, let Coach Lundy know, because I sure as hell don't have an idea as to how they can get better at their at their shooting percentage from the free throw line. He did say during the post-game show that it's not something that can easily be fixed in practice. It's not like you can just, shoot out of free throws. And, I'm like, as I always will defer, I will defer to him. He knows a lot more what he's talking about than I do when it comes to basketball. Let's see. So Paul says still higher than the Cream City Classic from 2 years ago. And Ty correctly points out that was in the Clouthy Center. And then points out that UST brought a lot of fans. I would also say that Brilliant brought a bunch of people for the Wofford game. And Portland State brought Leah Tyne, who counts as 1,000 people because she's awesome. Overall, this weekend for the attendance woes and losing Faison Fields and still not having a resolution to the Erik Pratt situation. I think that this weekend went better than you could have asked for, really. Overall, it was just the fact that they won all 3 basketball games, the fact that they won all 3 basketball games, the fact that Aaron Franklin had his breakout game of the season, 6 of 10 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 8 rebounds, 15 points. Mwah. Fantastic. That's exactly what we need from him offensively. We need him to step up because unfortunately without Faison Fields, we do kind of lose we lost our starting center probably for a month or so. That's going to make things a little bit tougher for us until January, and maybe a little bit into January. Now I'm going to say this: I don't see it as entirely a bad thing, and the reason for that is, I do think that Faison had some difficulty with free throws, or not free throws, with fouling. That problem that he was having last year was creeping back. Obviously, we want him to work through that. We want him to work through that on the floor. But I do think that, when you're hurt for an extended period of time, that does give you an opportunity to take some more time to digest some game tape and really look into how you can get better as a player. And we've already had Faison. Faison's already established to us that he is capable of taking a look at his body of work, identifying what the issues are and fixing the issues. Because last year, for the first half of the season, could not stay on the court because of fouling issues. He had like the yips with on the scoring end. He had that one nice early season non-conference game, but otherwise he didn't turn it on till the second half of the season. And when he did, he really turned it on. And the fouls never 100% away, but he's a post player, so it is what it is. It didn't help that a lot of times his fouls have been so ticky-tack. And by ticky-tack, I mean, like, why are you calling these as a referee? They're kind of like, oh, he made contact. Sure, but like just a little bit. Frank says, Faison's been great for us, but is his absence going to fix the clogged lane with him and Stillwell being in there and allowing the guards to get to the rim? Another thing, this is like, again, something that he gets the opportunity to watch some game tape and play a bit of a coach on the bench, on the sideline, and work on what's going to, make him more of an asset to the team and for himself later in the year, because Faison, like most of our senior class, has legitimate aspirations of playing professionally. I think Faison has a hopefully very long career ahead of him. For his game, the NBA is a long shot, but the great news is that you can make a pretty decent career overseas. Ask Clay Tucker, ask Tony Meyer, just retired like last year. we've had a lot of good Panther players get to the pros. Bart Lundy had something like 24 Queens and High Point players go pro before he got here, and he's already had several of them in the 2 years. Faison's going to have a legitimate pro career overseas. I'd love to see him playing for a team like Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or something. Get in and get one of those real solid ones. Stack, we did cover Pratt. He is not making the trip to Orlando and Southern Miss. At the end of the day, you want to have him with the team. It's not our decision. We don't know exactly why he's out for, the personal. We don't know what the personal reasons are. The coaching staff just, has decided they don't want us to know 100%, and we're just going to have to live with that. That's the downside of being on the outside looking in. Ty brings up that Tybee also has a solid career overseas. Correct. And basketball is continuing to grow in Europe. there are several leagues. There are a bunch of leagues in Europe that are profitable, and you can carve out a pretty good living. There are still some of the problems that certain European leagues will have, where you have difficulty getting paid. Your pay is just not that great to begin with. But like you said with Tybee, like I said with Tony Meyer, with a bunch of people, that is going to be, phase on like everybody else is going to have a lot of opportunities. So hopefully towards the end of the season, not the end of the season, in the next, in the month or so when he's ready to come back from his injury, hopefully he can make himself more of an asset for the program. Shake off some of the foul trouble woes. Figure out how to be better at helping with floor spacing when he's not, when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. These are things that we can get out of him in the future, and I expect him to take this time to really look at it. Stack says more transparency from these guys is needed. I'm assuming the coaching staff. We shouldn't be kept in the dark for this long. He wanted to be on this trip. They are lying to us. Like I said, we don't know what the reasons are. When they say personal reasons, it could be any number of things. The personal reasons could be he wasn't following team rules. The personal reasons could be he has some issue. He's coming back. What we know is that at the moment he's not with the team. You say you wanted to be on this trip. I'm sure he didn't want to miss any games. I'm sure Erik Pratt would have preferred to play every single game this season and start every single game this season. So I don't think that there's any real news there. I do agree with you. Transparency is a word that I think I would tweak it to consistency. We need consistency in the messaging here. They need if I would have a suggestion for the coaching staff and for the athletic department, it would be to come up with a specific line that can be that everybody in the program can say, or they can deflect to the person who is supposed to say it. Personally, if I were in Amanda's seat, I would have Chris Zills taking all those questions. I know that you're a fan talking to coaches. That's a little different. I would have everything funneling through Zills. Zills is a professional communicator. It's literally his job. He's been sports information director at the university for almost 20 years. He's a professional. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to word things. I would defer. I would have coaches, I'd have Coach Lundy make a statement, and after that, defer to, Zills, and just have Zills field those questions. Paul Swiderski says, I can understand not making all of this public, especially if Pratt broke team rules or something. It makes sense to avoid embarrassing him more than necessary. Yeah, there's any number of reasons why a team, why the team will not share everything. Dude, even when Rob Jeter was here and I was privy to 95% of what was going on in the locker room and in the program, even at a lot of points there were spots where they just could not tell me about some things. And you just have to accept that. At some point you have to accept there are lines that the athletic department and the basketball program cannot cross with fans. first off, you never know what is going to get out there. The reason that Jeter's staff, and it was rarely Jeter, it was always his staff, why they would, confide in me when I was running Panther U and before that when I was running the UWM Post, it's because if they said, hold on, hold off, don't say this yet, or don't talk about this, but this guy has gone to rehab because his injury has caused some other issues. Don't go to, don't put this out publicly, but and a lot of times it would be tied to, some some blog post I would make on Panther U, or it would be tied to some column that I was writing for the UWM Post, where what I'm saying would be in direct conflict with what was actually going on with the program. And if I knew like the actual story about what was going on, I wouldn't even be, putting a spotlight on something specifically. Or I would be treating it with a different, I would be painting it with a different brush. These are things that was why I would get, drawn in on things. In other ways, it was, other times it was, we want this story to get out at some point, but we're not going to be the ones to give you this story. We'll have you go to a couple different people and talk to them, or this is a question that you should be asking. Good luck finding somebody who's going to answer those questions for you. Like, when, every time Panther U ended up on the bottom line, or every time we were breaking news, it was rarely, I was rarely handed the story and said, go ahead, post it. It was usually, hey, sniff around here and you're going to find something. It was, hey, anybody with the Olympia Sports? I'm like, the Olympia Sports from Detroit? Yeah. You know any of them? Like, yeah, I know a couple guys. Please go talk to them, see what's going on. Oh, shit. Oh, no, we're moving the conference tournament to Detroit? What a terrible idea. And I think in some of those ways it was maybe like, this is something that's going to happen if you don't do something, so go jump out at it. I was clued into Oakland. I was clued into Northern Kentucky. Both of those schools joined in the conference. I was the one that broke. Did I break the news on both of those, or if it was just Oakland? I know I broke the news on Oakland. I know I broke the news on Loyola leaving the conference. Panther U made the bottom line on ESPN, like 3 or 4 times, and it wasn't always good, but I always started with somebody who was in the know feeding me something. And the way that they would feed me things would be because they knew that whatever they told me, if they also told me don't talk about that or don't say anything or keep it to yourself, that I would. And I think that this coaching staff is tight-lipped on a lot of things because there is a belief, and I think a pretty accurate belief, that certain people are going to spread certain information, and they don't 100% know who all of those people are. Certainly they think I am, because they haven't told me what's really going on with Erik Pratt, and I will also say I am okay with that. I'm okay not getting into Erik Pratt's dirty laundry or the program's dirty laundry. I don't know what's going on right there, and I'm going to take what they're saying to take what they're saying to account. If they say that Erik Pratt is out for personal reasons for the time being, and that he, it's indefinite, then that is what it is. If I hear that, like I heard somebody said this weekend that they spoke with Amanda Braun and she wasn't 100% on she wasn't sure she would make the same decisions regarding things. That's a clue that Coach Lundy has made the decision on Pratt's status. So, and it also is that it sounds like that his he's somewhat independent. He's independent from her on that. So it's his decision and it's his program. So get with the program, guys. Does it, transparency? I understand what you mean, Stack, about transparency. You want transparency from the program. Would it be awesome if we knew everything that was going on inside the program? Hell yeah. That would be super cool. It can't work like that. It can't work like that with players. It can't work like that with coaches. Stack does say it's strange that nobody would press him for answers. Pratt's very important to us and the long-term success of the team this season. That is, I don't know, man. It looks to me like I agree that Erik Pratt is important. I think that if we learned anything this weekend, it's that Pratt is less important to the success of the team than we thought, because they whooped up on Portland State. And they handled Wofford. They handled St. Thomas. Those are two pretty good basketball teams. I'm not going to say that St. Thomas is like a world beater by any stretch of the imagination. They lost to Arizona State fairly convincingly, but they beat Green Bay, who we got to play in a couple weeks. They beat St. Norbert, who's on the same level as Green Bay's program. I'm just kidding. They've got a good team and a lot of Wisconsin kids on that team. So, it is what it is. The Panthers went 3-0 on a weekend. It is hard as hell to win 3 games on back to back. I mean, they won, and it wasn't even 48 hours between tip-off against Portland State and the final buzzer against St. Thomas. I mean, we talk about 3 days back to back. We're really talking about 2 calendar days. Under 48 hours is more like 46 hours like 44, 45 hours from the beginning of Portland State to the end of St. Thomas game. So, and yeah, Paul's right. That's an issue for press coverage. I don't think that I'll say this, like, Rosiak and Kurt Hogg for the Journal Sentinel, David No for the UWM Post. I don't think it serves having been somebody who has written the beat. It does not serve you as a beat writer to really press upon something that the coaching staff does not want to get out there. And it should be obvious as to why, right? Like, you want to be fed stories. I was fed stories. I got, PantherU.com was featured on the bottom line of ESPN 3 or 4 times on national television and I was breaking stories that guys making good money were not breaking those stories, and it's because I was connected, and I was connected because I would keep things quiet if people wanted things to be quiet. I would, and again, that doesn't mean I never criticize them. And maybe there's a way that, Rosiak or Hogg could write something, or David No could write something where they talk about, how, Coach Lundy's, the messaging from the program isn't very consistent regarding Pratt. But that's really all I would have for criticism on that. Transparency is nice, but at the end of the day, as a beat writer, where you are following the team for the entire season, It doesn't behoove you to it doesn't behoove you to get confrontational with the basketball coaching staff if you want. There's a fine line on that, and when we're a mid-major, it's very easy for the athletic department to just keep things at the most basic level, like just deflect and move on, and then not grant things that you may want later if you want to tell certain stories. I can't, and again, I don't think Rosiak or Kurt or David are going to push. And if I were writing the beat for the Journal Sentinel or the UWM Post, I would say the exact same thing. I'm sorry. I know that it's not the answer that you're looking for, but you gotta play the game, and part of playing the game is not just pushing buttons when you're not getting the best answer. And the reason that maybe the reason that you haven't gotten or Matt Essman or any of these other fans who like talking to the coaches and stuff, maybe the reason that you guys and I haven't gotten is just they don't trust us to be able to keep things quiet. They certainly don't think I can keep things quiet because they haven't brought me in on anywhere on any level approaching what the Jeter staff had me in on. And that's fine. Like I'm not trying, Panther U is just me talking in a microphone right now. It's not me writing like the blog or trying to be a journalist anymore. So I'm not here to rattle that cage. It feels good to be in the know, right? It feels good to be in the know. It feels good to know that like you can talk to Erik Pratt and Erik Pratt say that he wanted to be there. Now you say you've been sniffing around, and what you're finding out is it sure seems he's being held out for reasons that are not up to him. That doesn't seem like personal reasons to me. If it's a violation of team rules, why not just say that? Guess you're not as close to them as you thought. That's good to know. Don't take it personally. You're a young guy, man. This is not it's not that. It is not a screw stack. We don't like stack thing. That's not why they have not made you privy to everything. It's simply that you are not in the program and they are. That's what it is. And I don't know if that coaching staff has even had the conversation about who to bring in to let know things. So one thing is you don't have a blog. You don't have, and this is not just you, Stack. This is like a lot of people. You don't have a blog. You don't have a channel like this. Although I would love to, I'd love it if you were a guest or a frequent guest on my show, because I think that you have a lot of great insights into the program, and I think that you would be an asset to my videos, or even if you started doing your own. Because you don't have those things, there's less incentive to say, okay, let's bring him in on this story. If I was not the sports editor at the UWM Post, now let's remember, the UWM Post that I was the sports editor of is not the UWM Post that David No is the sports editor for. David No is the sports editor and basketball beat writer for a UWM Post that exists entirely online. The UWM Post that I was the sports editor of had a 12,000 circulation every week, fall semester, spring semester, my byline was on the front page probably more than just about every writer in the at the UWM Post. And that's like I'm not beating my chest on that. I'm not beating on my chest on that. I'm just kind of saying the facts. So they had incentive for me to know the full story, and they trusted me in that I would not pass along that if they asked me not to, because that's part of what being a beat writer is sometimes you get to know things, but without, and know that you're not supposed to share them, because that may get you bigger stories later. Like, hey, Oakland's joining the Horizon League. Hey, Northern Kentucky accepted an invite to the Horizon League. Hey, the Horizon League's moving its conference tournament to Detroit. Hey, go talk to these people. Go talk to the people at UIC, because their athletic director is running around telling everybody they took an invite to the MVC in 2013. That prick. It's those are. They had incentive to keep me in the loop, because then they would get the benefit of I'd have the benefit of I know what stories to not write, not just like what they want me to keep quiet, but like know if I'm going to say something, like there was one player who had a lot of problems. He was a post player. He had a lot of problems scoring for a bunch of time. I did not know that he was dealing with major shoulder issues. It wasn't an injury anymore. It was something where he was struggling with pill addiction on because of this lingering pain in his shoulder. Now, if I had reported that, hey, this guy is sucking up, maybe we should start this other player in his place, or maybe this guy shouldn't be playing as much, I would then feel like a giant asshole if I put that out there in an article and then I turn out that I found out that later. But I was privy to these things, so it was fine. Just to kind of wrap this up, because I don't want this to be like a 2-hour long podcast. I do want to Ty Runner says, honestly, when I was covering the 2014 with Jordan Aaron's suspension, I think I asked Jeter one question of it. I didn't press anymore because I knew nothing else would be told. Yeah. Ty, when Ty was an intern at Sports Radio 1250, he was covering the team, and it did not. There was no benefit to, pressing the coach on, why is this kid not playing? If it's a kid who's not playing, like, if he's not playing on the court as much, like, but he's still out there and he's playing, and you want to press on that, yeah, go right ahead, because that's a coaching, that's a basketball decision specifically, right? Like, I have brought up in multiple post-game shows to this season that I think Lyric Davis should be playing more basketball. And I think I've been validated in that by how he's played thus far this season. And, if I were writing or something, that might be something where I push that, like, hey, what's going on with, Lyric Davis? Why are we not seeing more of him? He seems like somebody who could have a lot more, a lot of benefit on our defensive play. Plus, we have a need for a 3-point shooter because Erik Pratt isn't playing, and he's fairly good 3-point shooter. That would be something that would be something where you could press the coach. Trying to like play the inside baseball thing, you have to build the trust, and part of that is when they tell you something, don't tell anybody else. If they tell you something, don't tell anybody else. Don't tell me, don't tell anybody. And I do feel like, and I'm not picking out like Stack specifically, because I've seen this from a number of people in the Lundy era. A couple of people have been told things that I've been told, and then they will make like an offhand reference on the freak board, or they will talk about it in front of other people, or they will tell people through DMs. Like one of the many, I think I'm in something like 15 Twitter direct message groups of like just groups of Panther fans, like the guys who were big fans 15 years ago when I was a student. The kids who are at like Whitewater right now, like that group of fans. There's the one that's built around like the Black and Gold Club. There's a number of these like private ones, and sometimes information like freely goes between them, and that's when it makes it hard for a coaching staff to know who to trust with what information, right? So what is the benefit of saying, hey, look, man, Erik Pratt, or let's go back to last year, right? Let's use Browning as an example, because I don't know what's going on with Pratt, and I don't want anybody to like think of like a scenario that I'm coming up as like what's actually happening, because I don't know. But like last year with Browning, it came out that like the straw that broke the camel's back was him like kicking a basketball in practice. It's a, hey, Jimmy, there were a number of things, but really what kind of finished it off for Browning was, he had been flouting team rules over and over again, and he was told he's got to be in line, he's got to follow things along, and his frustration went too far, and he punted a basketball in the O-House Center, and coach decided that was going to be the end of Markeith Browning as a Panther. And I would appreciate it if you don't like go out and share that. Don't go tell people that don't go tell people exactly what happened there, but that's what happened. That Browning punting a basketball thing got out so fast. Like within a day or two, 3 fans were texting me or sending me DMs saying like, hey, guess what I found out? I found out what really happened. And I had heard it, but I hadn't said anything. And I mean, that was, I look at that as like, that's a test. You were tested. You were told this information. You were told that information in confidence. I'm not saying you, Stack. I'm saying these 3 guys who told me. I don't remember. I don't think you were one of them, but a few different people were told last year. Right. So like, he told a peer of mine who's better friends with him than I am, and it got out from there. Sure, like that's how things can happen, and sometimes players can choose as to what if they decide they want to share their side of a story with somebody, they might tell you, and if they don't ask you to be quiet about it, it's up to you if you're going to be quiet about it or if you're going to let it fly and put that information out there. I think it's almost always best practice to take that door opening into the inside workings of the program, that window that you've been given by a player or a coach or an administrator. Take that window, peer through it because you're a fan, and that's amazing, but keep the information that you get, to yourself, or mostly to yourself, unless it's something that they want people to know. And oftentimes they'll tell you if they want people to know. And that was, those were the things. Like if they wanted me to know something, they wanted me to, share something, they would tell people Yeah, or they would say, "Hey, Jimmy, this is something that you should put out." And it would often be something big, like I said, Panther U was, it's cool as hell when you go to ESPN.com and you see Oakland University joining the Horizon League in 2013. You click on it, and as first reported by PantherU.com, Oakland University, like that was cool as hell. And I wish that I had been better. I wish that I had been better positioned to monetize that. I made a few grand a season, like 2 different seasons, but like it was never enough to quit even like the menial job. I wish Substack had existed when I started, because if Substack had existed, I could have monetized Panther U that way. If Patreon existed back then, I could have monetized it that way. Patreon might be something that we do here, but that's not something that I'm going to be, that's something I got to think about for a while. I got to do a little research, see if it's worth it. There's also this other thing that's going on. I've been approached by somebody who's not inside the basketball program, not inside the athletic department, but somebody who wants me to be, wants me to be some kind of, I don't know exactly what they want, but they want me to be part of something. So I'm gonna take those meetings and see where that goes. But for the moment, I'm doing what I'm doing here, and I'm having fun with it. And if the coaching staff decides they want me to be privy to certain information, I'd love to be privy to it. I'm a giant fan of the program. I'm not the biggest fan. Michael Pohl's the biggest fan. I'm just physically the biggest fan of the program. So, it is what it is. I don't want to say any more on it. I don't know if, I wouldn't take it personally. That's one thing I definitely wouldn't like. If you, when you say, I guess I'm not as close with them as I thought, that's good to know. It sounds like you're pissed about it, and I just wouldn't be pissed, man. It's the nature of professional sports and college sports. You have people inside the program, you have people outside the program, and we are outside the program. So, if you get if they share snippets with you, if they share information with you, and they want you to be quiet about it, or they imply it, or don't, I would just keep up with that. I will say this: if anybody on the coaching staff wants to bring me inside the building, metaphorically, and they want to keep it, they want to keep things going on information with me, so I know how better to talk about things when I'm doing the podcast, when I'm doing the when I'm doing the podcast, or when I'm doing this the post game shows or something, so that I'm not saying something that's gonna involve me sticking my foot in my ass, or or foot in my mouth. Please, I would love to be privy to things. I have not been so far. I'm sure there's a reason for that. I don't take it personally. I think these guys are doing a great job. Again, the earlier word that somebody brought up was transparency. I think the better word is consistency. I think specifically with this like Pratt thing, with the Danilo stuff from earlier this season, let's just be consistent with it. If a guy's sick, he's sick. If a guy's hurt, he's hurt. If a guy is having, if the guy's, flouting team rules or something, it doesn't matter, like, if you're saying 100% the most truthful thing to the world, because clearly these are sensitive personnel issues. But what you should be saying, what you should be saying is consistent. If it's, no matter who it is. This is, say Erik Pratt were, I'm not even gonna speculate, because I don't want people to like take that as me saying that this is what's actually going on, because I don't know. Moving on, though. Moving on. The Panthers have 2 games coming up this year, or this week, excuse me. They have a game at Central Florida. They have a game at Southern Mississippi. The game against Central Florida is tomorrow night in Orlando. This is now a high major basketball game. Somehow UCF under Johnny Dawkins is they're 4-2. They're a decent Big 12 team. They did lose a game to Wisconsin. They did lose to LSU. They beat Fort Wayne. I wouldn't say convincingly, but they beat Fort Wayne pretty safely. They beat Texas A&M. They beat Florida Atlantic. They beat Tennessee Tech. None of the 4 wins were blowouts. They won by 3, they won by 7, they won by 6, they won by 11. None of those 4 games are blowouts. I look at tomorrow's game as a real opportunity for the basketball program to get I wouldn't call it a I wouldn't call it like a win for the Selection Sunday profile, although it might be. I would call it more a signature win. Beating Duquesne wasn't beating Duquesne was not us saying, we beat Duquesne, this fantastic basketball team. That's, we were saying, we beat Duquesne, who was in the NCAA tournament last year, and we were beating Duquesne, who's in the Atlantic 10, because those are the things that really, make us look better. Duquesne still searching for their first victory in Division I. That sucks. But, beating UCF, that's a top 100 team in KenPom. That's a top 100 team in the net ratings. They're 4-2. This would be a signature victory for the Panthers. The big ones this season, the guys that you gotta watch out for are the 2 guards, Jordan Ivy Curry, Keyshawn Hall. These guys are, Keyshawn Hall's the real big guard. Darius Johnson is a little bit built. Jordan Ivy Curry is a little longer, a little more gangly than Darius Johnson, but these are 3 guys who are big. They're fast. They're fast players. Keyshawn Hall also is a fantastic wing who's a real glass banger. That's somebody that I'm going to say that it's very important for the team going into that game tomorrow night for Duquesne did get a win today. Congratulations, Duquesne. Duquesne. Good for you. I would say that the recruiting has an opportunity to really pay off tomorrow because UCF is going to be marching out a couple bigger guys, specifically like bigger guards. And I think the Mustafa Thiam, the center, he's going to be a big deal. He's going to be a hard game for us. Darius is going to have to do what he can to throw his body around. Darius is at least a bigger guy than he is. That Rokas Joshis from Lithuania, not as big of a, he's a bigger body. might be somebody that they push out there to kind of try and put Darius on the bench. But I look at the recruiting of Johnny Lovelace Jr. I look at the recruiting of Jermichael Stillwell as two guys that we really need. We really need tomorrow night against UCF, because if they're not on the top of their game defensively, Keyshawn Hall is going to shred the Panthers. He is a big body wing. They call him a guard. I think he's more like a small forward kind of type, kind of not unlike them themselves. I look at them as a team that is, they're a strong team. They rebound the hell out of the ball, 21st in the country with 43.3 rebounds a game. They are 28th in free throw attempts with 27.2 from the line. They're 22nd in offensive rebounds. And they're 123rd in turnovers, averaging 13.2 a game. Those are three of your four factors to winning a game of basketball that they are good to exceptional on. It's a tough game ahead of the Panthers, but they should, if they're able to keep Keyshawn Hall in check, and KP can keep up with if KP can keep up with Johnson, Ivy Curry, if they can avoid Themis Fulks getting hunted by the opposing team's offense, I think that we have a fairly good shot. I think they have a good shot to win even tomorrow. The shooting has to be there, right? The shooting has to be there, and UCF actually doesn't do that great of a job of stopping other teams from shooting. Opponents are averaging 10 threes a game made, not attempted, made against UCF. So if you can get the turnovers going. Now they're 123rd in turnovers with 13.2 a game. If the Panthers can get a couple turnovers going and tilt the floor, they can really start running things up. I think if you do that enough you have an opportunity to win. I think it's a really big deal. I don't think anybody's talking about this part. I think it's a really big deal that this game is the night before Thanksgiving. All those UCF kids, remember, UCF is a Big 12 school with a huge, I think they've got 50,000 or 55,000 students on campus. Almost all of them are going to be home by tomorrow night because Thanksgiving is Thursday. So is this a game that we're going to have to deal with a giant student section? No. Is it going to be 5 students like our fucking games? Excuse my language. Is it is it like 5 students like our games? No. They'll maybe have a couple dozen, but I expect that it'll be a crowd that'll be a lot easier to shut up than most. Moving to southern Mississippi. Before we talk, Frank, just to go back to the previous conversation, Stack says, we just deserve to know what's happening is all, especially as some of the biggest fans of a program who has very few diehards compared to most schools. Frank says, honestly, I don't think we are deserving of anything regardless of fandom. Would we like to know? Sure. Do we deserve to know? Not at all. I'm sorry, Stack. I'm with Frank on that one. If you want to know what's going on in the program, apply for a job with the university and work inside the program. Get a job as a man. I mean, obviously, you're not going to do that. You're a college graduate who has a nice job. You don't need to be doing that. So, I'm with Frank at that point. The last thing I want to pitch on to the Southern Miss game. It's going to be an easier game to win for us. They've had difficulty in this season. They're 268 in KenPom, 2-4 in the Sun Belt. They're a game that is winnable. They won at Bowling. They won at home against Bowling Green. They won a non-Division I game. The other 4 games they have are all losses. So I look at it as a win. Just to wrap up, you want to look out for Neftali Alvarez, Denijay Harris. Like the Panthers, they're a senior-laden team. They're just not quite, not quite as good on this. What I do want to know is Andre Curbelo playing tomorrow. I believe he is, but he did like nothing against Montana State, and he played. So, thanks for showing up, everybody. We're obviously gonna be talking after the game for a little bit tomorrow. And a little bit on Saturday, but otherwise it's a holiday weekend, so you're not going to see shit from me otherwise. In fact, I might not even do the post games because it's a holiday weekend. I'd rather spend it with family. So, have a I won't get my I won't get your money as a donor moving forward anymore without more consistency. I hope you didn't think that you were buying information, because that's kind of what that sounds like. But I'm gonna dip out of here, guys. Thank you for listening. We'll hopefully see you. Stack another couple good days this weekend. I hope you all have a good Thanksgiving, and take care.